GM, and good morning, buenos dias. Hello, I'm CD Demisio. This is Web3 Writers, hosted by Vagabond Media, and I am so lucky to be here today, even if I am a little bit late. Rionna Morgan is here, and thank goodness for that. We get her up on the stage right away so that she can co-host with me. We've also got our friend Odd Writings is here, and T. Dylan Daniel. I see Musashi. We are rocking and rolling. So I got to be honest here. I was 5 minutes late this morning because my mom's coming into town, and I was like, I gotta clean the house, and I was vacuuming, and I was like washing stuff, and I was like, okay, I gotta get this done. But I should have remembered this. I just forgot, mom. So anyway, Rionna, how are you?
I'm just fine. I'm just fine. And vagabond mom, how fun is that? So I'm sure that I can speak for everybody when we say please send our love to your mom. And it's a lovely day. It's a little rainy here, but those are my favorite kind of days. And I'm happy to be here with all of you. So good morning.
We're so happy to have you here, everybody's favorite mom. Although, of course, everybody's favorite mom is their mom. But aside from that, you're everybody's favorite mom, and I'm sure that you're your kid's favorite mom. We've got Odd Writings with us too up on the stage. George, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm very happy about Lamina 1. Excited about it.
Dude, you are not alone. And we will get into that in a second, but let's say hi to T. Dylan Daniel first.
GM, how's everybody doing today?
It's a rhetorical question or a serious question?
A little column A, a little column B. It's
Okay.
dusty and windy here in Lubbock, Texas, or else, I could take some pictures of the beautiful big sky, but today it's actually kind of a horror show. So, anyway, good day.
I'm super glad to hear it. I see we also have Musashi with us. Musashi, so glad to have you here up on the stage with us. Good morning.
Hey, good to be here. Hot, hot, hot in Tennessee.
We are all over the place. Hawaii, Tennessee, Texas, Montana, big sky all around. So George, you mentioned Lamina One, and you and me and Rionna had like a little Lamina One love fest yesterday. It was so cool. Like, I am super stoked to have gotten your second NFT ever made on Lamina One, which is one of my favorite NFTs, by the way, what you gave me. And I won't spoil who you gave number one to, but maybe she will.
I will. I will. I will spoil it. Yes, thank you, Odd Writing, so much. It was just such a wonderful surprise to just jump in there and see that, and I was just so honored. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Both of y'all are very welcome. This is actually an echo of the business about having to own a smartphone in order to do things. Uh, so I've been looking into Lamina One. And most of you guys know I don't own a smartphone. I'm like a curmudgeonly guy. I refuse to own a smartphone. And it turns out that in order to join their Discord server, you need a smartphone. And so I figure, well, okay, so I want to join the Discord server. But then it turns out the only way you can get their currency from the faucet is through a channel on their Discord server. So I went around with my hand out, and went over to Rionna and CD and was like, oh, if only someone could give me a little bit of L1 so I could actually mint on the platform. And they both did. So of course, I minted my first two NFTs and sent it to them. So there you go.
Well, I just want you to know that I also gave both of you just because the first two NFTs that I had made on Lamina One. So I have two accounts, one for Vagabond and one for me, CD, which is something I like to do. And yeah, so the first NFTs that I minted with each of those went to Rionna and Odd Writing. And I've got to say, Lamina One is one of those communities that I am just so, so happy to have found and become a part of, because the entire thing is essentially designed and built to put creatives first on the pyramid, on the food chain. So creatives go first, and the degens, the traders, the flippers, which so many projects have just burned themselves out and ruined themselves through catering to like people who are just going to take the liquidity and run. Lamina One has worked really, really hard to not do that. And it is obvious when you get in that community that it is just a community of creatives. I've been having a ball. Created something called Lamsters, which Edward Carpenter, you guys all know him. He was like, "Oh, what do we call ourselves here in Lamina One? Do we call ourselves Lamsters?" And I was like, "Lamsters? Wait a minute, that's like a lamb and a hamster combined." So, of course, I made an NFT project of Lamsters, which are cute lamb hamsters, and people got really excited about them. So I've been selling those for L1, the first 20, and now we are actually engaged in a lore and world building thing where the second 20 are going to be given out to people who get into the Lamster Universe channel there and start building the Lamster universe with us, designing it, creating it. So I've got 20 reserved for people. So if you guys are creative and you want to take part in building something new and super cool and fun and get to know a lot of really neat people, I really recommend that you go to lamina1.com, get into the Discord if you have a smartphone, and start creating with us. It's really fun. Okay, so enough of that. What else have you guys been looking at? We can come back to talk about Lamina One in a few minutes, but I don't want to monopolize all of the time at the beginning of Web3 Writers here. So what else have you guys been looking at this week?
Well, I try to stay away from Twitter pretty much a lot of the time because I get sucked in, and there's so many fun projects because I base I base all of my NFT Web3 stuff on do I like it, kind of how, and is it visually appealing? If it's art, does it grab me if it's something to read? And so I just lead with my heart with all of that. And it's like I'm buying wine. I buy wine by what the bottle looks like rather than if I know I'm going to like it, because I'm always like, what do I? Oh, that's such a pretty bottle. I'm just going to get that. That really speaks to me on some visual or visceral sort of thing. But there's just so many fun things that are just popping up all the time, and that seems kind of heartening to me to see people coming back because for so long there was really nothing. Nobody was building anything or doing anything. And one of my favorite artists, his name is Drift, and he climbs to the top of buildings and takes really beautiful pictures way up high in the world. And I just saw him again today for the first time in a long time, and I was just so happy about that. And so I just am feeling really happy, like really hopeful, like really excited because it feels the world sort of feels really similar to what it used to. And so I'm just hanging out with that happiness a little bit.
I am familiar with Drift. Drift did that "Where My Vans Go" series, right? Is that right, Rionna? That was Drift,
Yes,
wasn't it? I
yes,
love
yes,
those.
yes,
I
yes.
actually I actually did a riff on that when I owned a Vanagon. I did a riff on that and created an NFT project called "Where My Vanagon Goes." And if you go to OpenSea, you can go look at those. It's just like pictures of my Vanagon in pretty places in Hawaii. But yeah, Drift stuff is just amazing. I'm so jealous of his like ability to get to those high places and not get freaked out like I would.
Oh, I know. Like two or three people removed from me have actually been able to like have a little mini conversation with him, and I'm just like, oh, it like makes my stomach just flip anytime I see him doing something. But then I'm also so proud of him because when you know his story, which sort of brings me back to the story of people, and that is such a rich, lovely piece that pulls us in. And I love the story of people and what they're building and why they're doing it, which is why I'm here with all of you, because I love your story too.
Well, we just what can we say? Like the hearts say it all. Um, so Musashi, I know you've also been involved in Lamina One from the beginning, I believe. Do you have thoughts on Lamina One, or what else are you looking at this week?
Yeah, big fan of Lamina One. I was actually just before this started was kind of looking at what additional things could potentially be utilized yet, and we're not quite there yet. Looks like a lot of the additional functionality is going to be released in mainnet. So right now, just kind of grinding in the Zealy quests, and really looking up more. They've added a lot to their documentation, so I'm kind of looking up some of the metaverse parameters and different things for builders and developers. What's going to be possible and how much of the book is there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's really cool to see what a solid place word creatives have there. Like we have myself, of course, like I'm a writer, but Edward Carpenter has done some tokens for his books where people are going to be able to claim his books when that functionality exists. There's another guy in the Lamina One Discord that's written a bunch of fan fiction about a different project on Lamina One called Persona. And also, Odd Writings now has published some of his palindrome poetry there. So it's so cool to see that this stuff is there early and getting love. Odd Writings, speaking of you, your hand is up, sir. What is up aside from your hand?
So speaking of the yeah, two things actually. One is the idea that getting in early and putting literature type NFTs on this blockchain is probably a good idea to help populate it. But the other thing, when y'all were talking about the functionality that they're working on, I noticed I read part of the documentation and I noticed that they have a separate subchain specifically for digital identification, and this had PageDAO written all over it for me because I know PageDAO has been looking at that, and they have a lot of emails there about getting together and coordinating with other groups. So I would be very interested in seeing how their digital identity evolves, and if it could end up being the thing that we're looking for about having a authors be able to identify themselves across blockchains, so that a book written on this particular chain and a book written on this other particular chain, even though they have different addresses, are actually the same author, and you can audit it, verify it and all that. So that caught my eye.
As it should have. I mean, we've got a lot going on in the lit space of Web3, and I do want to talk about. I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Like, the crypto markets are bleeding right now, and I take no satisfaction in people losing money. First of all, let me preface by saying that. But I do take satisfaction in the fact that those of us who are creatives, who are here to create, who are here to build community, who are here to keep doing stuff, we're not the ones that are crying right now. We're the ones that are like, oh, we're excited about the tech. Like, we're talking about Lamina One, we're talking about PageDAO, we're talking about books on chain, we're talking about the cool things that you can do with blockchain. We're not talking about our degen portfolios, because hopefully most of us understand that a degen portfolio is exactly that, and it's probably going to bleed to zero. And when you're investing in that stuff, you should always only invest what you can afford to lose, and don't take it to extremes, and I know some people are going to do that no matter what, but my heart goes out to the people that are suffering losses right now, but my heart really belongs to the people that are celebrating the birth of literature on blockchain, because that is what we're all here for. Right, Indefatigable?
Absolutely. With only a brief pause of discomforted unmuting.
I'm sorry for that, but I wanted to hear from you, and I thought, what a great way to shout you out.
Yeah, I'd say it really is a good time to be a builder. It reminds me of, mid 2020, before the biggest hype, and it was like, oh, look at all these cool things we can do, and people gathering and collecting. And then as the price went up, it was like, oh, let's just copy prefab formats, roll out our 10,000 PFP collection, put a story behind it, and call that creativity. Um, and so it's nice to see people who have constantly been like thinking about deep things and being creative and making palindromes and puzzles and poetry, like really, really just still here, enjoying each other's work. Every week, I'm astounded by how many people are excited to share their work and get real feedback from real people. It's such a rare thing in the outside world. It's almost as if the Web3 barriers to entry weed out a lot of the, you know, trolls, I guess. Not to say trolls don't exist in Web3, but on a lot of the writing platforms we're finding, I'm just loving what I'm seeing, both in community building and, just people listening to each other. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's totally exciting. And I was actually thinking about this last night. Again, going back to Lamina One in the Discord there, like there were people talking about like how can the tokenomics, they don't favor people trading and flipping, and how are you going to draw your community in? And you know, that conversation was happening, and I thought to myself, the best projects of 2021 and later, but they were all projects made by builders, projects where the people weren't getting in them. Like the original Bored Apes guys, the people that really got into Bored Apes, the people that loved them, they bought them out of a sense of creativity and community and building together. They didn't buy them out of a sense of flipping them. And that's why a majority of those guys held on to them to levels that were just absolutely insane to me as I watched those things climb up and up and up. But they held because they were there for community. And the same with punks. We all know at least a couple punks. Snacks comes to mind. And like these are people that bought punks, and they bought them because they wanted to be part of this community, because they saw it as a creative outlet, because they saw it as a creative way to participate in the culture, and not because they wanted a huge investment, not because they wanted to flip it tomorrow, not because they wanted to buy next Saturday's dinner with it, but because they wanted to be a part of the club. And that feels very much indefatigable, like where we are right now, as you said, like early 2021, late 2020. This feels like this space. So I'm really excited about the things that are coming out. Can we talk about any of the stuff that's coming out of PageDAO right now, Dylan? Indefatigable, can we?
I think we can. We're wrapping up our our long, almost 6 month dev cycle with a launch of the beta this week, alpha. It's like super rough. Um, Today we're submitting our documentation, our system documentation to Secret Network, and hopefully we'll fulfill the grant. Probably be some back and forth. We'll see how that goes. But what's really, really exciting is we have a new set of tools that are a lot more extensible than previous tools we had. So like in the nuts and bolts, a lot of the things I hear like Odd Writings talk about, or a lot of the things that other writers are asking for, while they may not be in the alpha as it is, they are buildable with the frameworks that we've created. So we've created, at the heart of it, the multi-chain author identity that you were talking about. That's built in. We've got secret content that's super secure. That's built in. We've got the ability to integrate with our governance. That's built in. We've got really cool asset types that could be auto-generated, and stuff on the roadmap that is super cool that a lot of people have asked for. Like, help me churn out some really cool content based on my awesome creativity. What's really going to be fun over the next couple of months is going to be rolling out the alpha, working out the kinks, doing it nice and slow and steady, no hype, and working with that user base to both fix bugs and roll out the features that our DAO members vote to prioritize. And that's going to allow us to like concentrate our effort on the most desired features. And so like that process is really, 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 really exciting, because like a thing that we've been sitting on that's just even members of our own team haven't really played with is going to enter the hands of the world very, very soon. So that's cool. And then that, I guess other page DAO people could probably talk about some of the capacity building that we've been doing just as a DAO, you know, onboarding new people, coming up with new processes and systems, looking to the 25-year from now longevity of the organization that we've collectively created. And some of that stuff is actually really, it's weird. It's like, it's governance and it's boring and it's bureaucratic, but in some ways it can be really energizing too. To like, for example, if I make a contribution to the DAO, how do I know that it's going to be valued? Like, what is this DAO thing? You know what I mean? Like, so figuring out like how we take care of people, how we make them feel seen and heard and appreciated for their contributions, all that is really important, I think, to the longevity of the overall system we're building. So yeah, that's my little in a nutshell.
It's a pretty good nutshell. I'm hoping Dylan wants to add on to that a little bit.
Well, I mean, of course, and maybe Musashi wants to jump in after me. But basically, you know, we've had a really crazy first half of the year here. It's been a long, hard cycle, but I think I speak for the whole community when I say I believe in Robbie, and I believe in what he's building, and I believe in Secret Network and Ethereum, and that the Web3 thesis in terms of like how to create enduring, durable, accessible, tradable, valuable digital content, and really, I mean, that's kind of like all there really needs to be. You know, of course, we're doing a lot of token modeling, we're doing governance modeling, we're looking at the you know, the ins and outs of how this complex literature, you know, oriented ecosystem, and what we're seeing is a lot of really good stuff. I think we may have, you know, moves toward base in our future. I think Laminate One would make an excellent partner. We should totally be talking to them. We have other partnerships that are coming up, and we just, I mean, it's going to be an explosive second half of 2024 for us. I'm laughing because I almost didn't realize what year it was for a second there. I almost said 2022. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, the thing is that we have kind of pushed and we have prodded and we have figured out what to build, and now we've built it. And I mean, without Robbie's leadership, we would not be here. So I just want to salute Robbie and just, man, you rock. So excited to see what comes next. You know, the page DAO is going to be a real thing, and it's going to be really, really interesting to, you know, continue to grow with the community and to continue to see, you know, kind of who comes in next, and you know what they add on, because this is just such a collective sort of effort at this point. I mean, it's, yeah, I've never seen anything like it, you know, like literally never. Like, yeah, I mean, in my wildest dreams, I did not see this coming.
So good to hear. And you know, talking about add-ons, like and add-on value, Musashi. Let's hear it.
My goodness. When it comes to PageDAO, right now, where we are right now, it's hard to, when you say speak about PageDAO, it's hard to pick what things that we're doing. You know, it's easier to speak about things I'm not excited about because there's so few of them. You know, we're moving from, you know, the type of a project that you look at and you're like, oh, that's a cool idea, but I don't know, they don't really have their shit together. Maybe we'll come back to that at a later date and see what happens. No, now we're at the point where, you take a look at PageDAO and you get deep into what's going on there and you realize, oh, wow, all these products and services, all the categories of life that this touches on, all of the really enabling things for an individual and an entity that Page touches on is really phenomenal. I'm also excited about getting connected with Lamina. I agree, Dylan. PageDAO and Lamina really, we're already like kind of side by side in what we're building, especially with Snow Crash. It just lays out so much that's at the heart of PageDAO. PizzaDAO and PageDAO could, even though this is not the truth, we could spread a rumor that they were started by Neil and that they came directly from a book, which, okay, PizzaDAO, parts of it did. But just super exciting. All the things are amazing. The products, the services, the community, the structure, the tokenomics that are coming together, really seeing teams get locked into new workflows that work better for not just a company, but a DAO, for an individual, as well as a collective, and working through the tough times. None of this is easy. The easy stuff is when all of this is done and we're just having fun with it. So getting to see people work through tough times with each other, with the tech, with the frustrations, with the different views. We're all very different people, and yet we're able to come together on a collective vision and set aside our differences and really make something happen. Love all you.
That is beautiful, Musashi. Thank you so much for sharing. I just got a note from CD saying that he can't hear us anymore, but he's going to stay there and maybe he can jump in again when things get better. So it's going to be all of us continuing our conversation together. And I just really want to echo what you all have been saying, what Robbie has been saying, what Dylan has been saying, what Musashi's been saying. And so I know a lot of you know that I am community lead at PageDAO, and I feel so honored and so happy to hear the things that are being said and feel the excitement. And, and I'm so proud, like literally so proud of everything that we're doing and all the things that we're putting into place for the future, for tomorrow, even for 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so if you're not following us, if you're not with PageDAO, if you're not in that group yet, you are definitely invited to be part of it, be part of the conversation, and help us build what it is that you need, because you, the writer,
Smartphone business. But I did find three places where you could actually mint NFTs on DGen Network. So I'll share those to the group.
Okay, and I tried to send a message to Vapid Phillips, but I don't think I have his Twitter address right handy. So if somebody can reach out to him in the Discord or something, that would be great. And unfortunately, that whole rug thing did shut down my recording software, which I've restarted now. But we missed unfortunately, Dylan, my cold restart from the beginning. Elon, why have you done this to us, Elon? I try and I try and I try to love you, Elon, but you keep treating me so badly. You don't even let me join my own space. Damn you, Elon! All space belongs to Elon.
Every time this happens, we should make an NFT out of it.
I like it. It's a good plan.
The rug collection.
Nothing brings a room together like a rug.
That's most of the PFP ecosystem, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes, it is.
Newsflash: Web3 has been taken over by interior designers.
We could start calling them lamps. I prefer a lamp to a rug, honestly. I feel a rabbit hole. Feel free to jump in there with it.
Lamp short for lampoon, maybe? Spoon?
Lamps bring light.
They can also turn off and leave you in darkness.
Hey, maybe we should talk to those folks over at Lampina One.
Dad jokes.
Dude, I'm so bad at them. I'm still 80% engaged in trying to find Vapid Volp's Twitter address so I can invite him back to tell us about his thing. Rionna, if you want to take over for a few minutes, I will engage in that wholeheartedly for a moment.
I did poke Vapid in Discord. Hopefully they'll get back on.
Okay, so I have a round robin kind of question. So this time of year, it's a lot of go to the movies, summer blockbuster, what's your favorite summer reading, that kind of thing. And so I thought, well, that would be fun. What is your favorite summer reading? Are you reading it now? Are you hoping to be able to read it before the end of summer? And so, because the solstice is almost upon us, it might be fun to talk about that. So, George, you want to pick that up and then we'll just round robin it around and come back.
Sorry for the delay. I was trying to add something to the note. Summer reading. I basically, I for many years I went to the Half Price Bookstore, which is right down the street, and I just walk over there and buy way too many clearance books. So basically, when I read now, when I've got the time to read, I'll pick something from my vast library, and sometimes it's I like a lot of science stuff and history, and so I picked a science one at random, which has probably been debunked by now because most of these books are 30 years old or 40 years old because I've got half price books. But it's an interesting book. It's about a guy's theory. I forget it's called the present is the past or the past is present, something like that, where he's providing an alternative to evolution, and he wants to say that people's behavior is actually created by these fields, kind of like an analogy to a magnetic field, but it's a behavioral field. And so the idea is that the reason that things appear to evolve is because the more they happen, the more they reinforce themselves. And so it's actually the past talking to the present and influencing the present in a quantum mechanical kind of instantaneous way. So it's pretty fun to read because it's mind bending. And since I haven't heard about anything about it since, he calls these things creodes, these little paths through time. I'm guessing that it just kind of went nowhere, but it's fun to read anyways. So that's what I'm currently reading.
Awesome. Well, I think I have some current reading I could share, but is that the task? I think I missed part of the prompt that George was responding to. Okay, so I'm getting a 100. I'm going to take that as a yes. I'm also seeing a thumbs up, so thanks. What I'm reading is a bunch of stuff about cognitive effort. So I'm working on a PhD at Texas Tech here in Lubbock, and for this job, I basically have to write a review paper about the subject of cognitive effort. And I've been finding a bunch of really fascinating stuff. I've got like 20 papers or so that I'm kind of working through. You go and you do your lit search and retrieve all the files and put them in one place, and then bring them back. And as you read through, you kind of categorize them, and then you write this annotated bibliography type of thing about them. But like some of these are absolutely blowing my mind. Anyway, there's one paper that basically makes the argument that the subjective experience of putting effort into something, like in a cognitive sense, is actually like it has a physical analog in the brain. And so, if you look at Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, they always find all these amyloid beta proteins that are just kind of cleaved off and just, sitting in the intercellular space in the brain. And it's like, well, are these causing disease or not? And probably not, because healthy brains can have it too. But the thing that's so fascinating to me is that if you look up what the function of the amyloid precursor protein is, it's synaptic formation. So like there's kind of a biological basis for something like the claim that putting in too much cognitive effort can cause dementia. Because what you're doing when something feels effortful may reduce physically down to, actually rewiring synaptic connections in relevant, pathways throughout your gray matter. So yeah, I think that's fascinating. I also think sleep is like really super important. Just as I kind of climb deeper into the biological rabbit hole here. But I'm having a fucking blast. Like, this is great. It totally jives with the AI work that I'm doing and stuff. Kind of independently, like in Web3, maybe 4-page down, maybe kind of tangentially or orthogonally there. But yeah, I totally love reading. Thanks for letting me talk about what I'm reading.
Dude, it's so fascinating. And man, what a sad thing to hear that like cognitive effort might increase your odds of dementia. I'm going to stop trying completely. Um, Actually, too late. All right, already did. Okay, so I wanted to tell what I'm reading. I'm actually reading a book by Nick Bostrom. You guys may have heard of Nick Bostrom. Like, if you ever liked the movie The Matrix, he's the guy that actually developed the initial theory of like we are living in a simulation. But this current book is really interesting. It's like beyond utopia. So he's saying what happens when we solve all the problems of humanity, and what do people do then? Like if nobody has to work and we live in a society of abundance and there's no pressing problems to solve, then what do people do? And he's sort of looking at the problems that come from that. And I find that really fascinating because one of the big problems is that people get bored and they start to make drama with other people. So it, there's almost an argument to be made that solving all the problems of humanity is not the best path forward for humanity, which sort of sucks. But it's real interesting. And Nick Bostrom, super smart guy. If you guys have never read him, I recommend at least reading a couple essays by him. Check him out.
Well, I'll share a few of the things I'm learning, which that sounds awesome. I've actually been catching up on a lot of Dylan. Some of his articles, he did a big dump yesterday on some.
That's pretty terrible phrasing, Musashi. Let's rephrase that. I don't like the image that brought up to mind.
Well, he did some large scale drops of some great articles that he had in the coffers, and some of them are dealing with what he was just talking about, which I've been enjoying a lot. A lot of it really goes down the whole like I forget the exact term for like body hacking, but all of those people who are into just life hacks that help your brain and your body. A lot of them go to extremes that I would rather not go, but a lot of Dylan's articles that he dropped are really pertinent to having a more productive life, even some of it having a more lengthened life and more healthy life. And it's just very interesting to see both the cognitive aspects and the physical aspects that are really tied together. I've really enjoyed that. I'm really still waiting on this book, but I've really been enjoying the discussions on the topic of the kairotic flow. There are two terms in Greek language for time, and that is kairos, and that is chronos. And a great majority of modern world works on and lives on chronos time. Chronos time says that there are 24 hours in a single day, and there are 365 days in a single year. There are 12 months to a year. In Kairos time, the year would be divided by the seasons or certain natural aspects to our environment. So indigenous tribes and societies, a great deal of them still live by Kairos time rather than Chronos. And this is the difference between our languages too. This is right-brained and left-brained thinking. And there was a roll chart that a man made a long time ago, and I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry for that. And this chart helped us understand the roles that we play in society, in work, in our community, in our families, in daily life, and how those roles applied to the phase you were in, depending on whether you were talking about a business, yourself, your family, or whatever that might be. And this woman came along and recognized that this was great work, that there were three main roles, and that there were three other roles that kind of lie on the other side of this, that dealt with, she called it the dark side of the chart, because it's less seen. And thus, these are roles that people play in society that are just as crucial as these other roles that are more visible to everyone, but they don't get paid, they don't get valued as much as the other visible roles, but they're just as valuable. So I've been really enjoying the discussion topics that get brought up in that, and I'm really excited about that book coming out, The Kairotic Flow.
Dude, that's fascinating on so many levels. I've a couple things to say, but first, I saw Odd Writings had his hand up, and I want to give you the chance to say things first, George.
Oh, that might have been a mistake. I'm happily listening, but I don't have anything to add at the moment.
Okay, in that case, I will happily contribute. Kairotic time is so cool, and I don't know if a lot of you know this, but at Vagabond Media and also in Taoism, which is a spiritual syncretic philosophy that I've helped to develop, we actually embrace kairotic time. We embrace the full moons and the seasons and the solstice and the equinox. All of these are holidays, and they're also times when we publish and do things with friends. Speaking of which, the summer solstice is coming up. That would be June 21st, 22nd. It usually is that area. And of course, that means that one of the quarterly Vagabond magazines is going to be coming out. So we've got an issue coming out in just a few days. You guys can look for it. In Taoism, I believe that is Bonfire Day. Maybe it's Bonfire Day. Yeah, it means get outside and do some burning, hang out with friends, enjoy fire, but don't burn your copy of Vagabond magazine because NFTs don't burn very well. Wait, I take that back. Some of them do.
Actually, yeah.
Actually, yeah, you can burn all your copies of Vagabond magazine. Go right ahead. Have a bonfire with Vagabond magazine. Rionna, you were instrumental in putting this issue together, as always. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have in store for people when they get this issue and what they can look forward to? Maybe what they can, start salivating over?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So this issue is filled with, it is a celebration issue start to finish, and it's filled with writers and people who've contributed to the T2 Friends Who Write competition, and maybe people who posted in not only Friends Who Write but the Twig Tales and the different categories on T2. And so really it's just one amazing thing after another. And so we've got sci-fi in there. We have a young adult piece in there, young adult from a young adult novel. We've got some like Edward wrote How to Write a Query Letter. And so it just runs the gamut of all of the different pieces. And so I think there's some poetry in there. There's some fashion articles in there. Just whatever it is that people contributed to the T2 for the Friends Who Write competition. We just pulled it in so that we could celebrate them and have them all together in an almost anthology type publication. And so it's going to be really beautiful. It is really beautiful. I've already seen it. It's exciting.
There is so much going on. Sometimes it's easy to forget, uh, major parts of it. But we don't want people to forget T2 and the friends that write, or friends who write. I always say friends that write, which is like, FTW, which, is something else. But friends who write, we don't want people to forget that. Yeah, there's like a marathon running article. There's some things about inclusion and just a whole lot in there. We really got some of the best that was published on T2 from some of the winning teams, some of the winning writers, and we're excited as hell to share it with you guys. And E.R. Donaldson has done an amazing cover for this issue. And again, Vagabond Magazine is quarterly. We come out on the solstice and the equinox. We celebrate these lunar and seasonal time values, and there's something to it, you guys. Everything that Musashi was just talking about, there really is something to it. This chronological time, is a big mistake, and we disconnect ourselves from that world, and we really mess up our biological systems in that way. I see Dylan left. I was sort of hoping he would jump in there and maybe dispute that. But Musashi, I want to hand it to you for a second, because what you were talking about was so important about aligning ourselves with the natural systems. And what you're reading sounds spot on to what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, from a couple of articles I read yesterday by Dylan, he would most likely agree, because a lot of his research finds that we we already know that we are circadian. We're a circadian species, meaning our biological functions are guided by the movement and the energy by the sun. Like chickens have a circadian rhythm. In the wintertime, when there's less sun, their bodies understand from the amount of energy that they're receiving from that sun that the days are waning. And now, because there's less energy available in my environment, the plants and the animals, insects that they're eating to supply their body for reproduction, they go into a rest period. In the commercial industry, where we don't treat chickens nicely or allow their natural kairotic flow, we put lights on in a hen house. And a lot of people think that those lights are for heat, because some of them will be heat lamps too, just to help with the cold in a colder environment. But they put these lamps in their hen houses down in Florida in the winter. Chickens don't get cold enough to die in Florida. Those lights are to trick the chicken's body to respond in a manner that it would during summer. And so these chickens, just like a female human, hens are born with all of the eggs that they will ever produce in their entire lifetime. It's numbered. It's literally numbered. And a normal chicken, if left to do what they will, not putting on the lights in the wintertime when you want them to keep producing, They would slow to stop their production in the wintertime to gain their strength, to rest, to gain their energy back up, to do what all things do in all things we know, ebb then flow. You can't constantly flow, you can't constantly ebb. Both mean death. We all ebb and flow, we all breathe. And so, you know, I thought about saying this before, I should say it now. More than what I'm reading is when and how I'm reading, and when to plant this and that, when to prune this and that, when to harvest this and that. But also my own schedule has changed, and it doesn't always work out with these Web3 DAOs. But, you know, normally wintertime mornings, I'm inside. It's too cold. I don't want to go out until the sun has thoroughly thawed everything. And so my work days start off inside on the computer. But summertime, it's hot here, and I do not want to go out in the afternoon. Morning time is my outside time. That's when I deal with the plants. The evening, maybe. And then I move indoors more in the afternoon, not only to cool off, but then my work day is more in the afternoon as far as online work goes.
Well, we can all benefit from paying a little more attention to the natural cycles and to our bodies. You guys, the rug sort of like cut us in the middle. I'm sorry for that. It's still, we got some beautiful things out in the second half. The first half had a little bit different energy to it. And, you know, it's never actually great to have the rug pulled out from underneath you. But we survived, we came back, and thank you guys for joining us today. I think it's about time to wrap up. So at the count of 3, if you're on the stage, just open up your mic and we'll close out with our typical aloha. Love to you, love to all. We are all one. 1, 2, 3.
Aloha.
Web3 Writers is brought to you by Vagabond Magazine and published on Apple Podcasts through the Substack app. You can find all the episodes on Apple Podcasts or at vagabond, vagobond.substack.com. Our theme music is composed by the amazingly talented Paolo Argento and brought to us courtesy of Pixabay. You can find the link in the show notes.